Welcome back to another discussion, guys. In today's video, I'm going to be going deep on self-worth and actually how to build up high levels of self-worth. So if you are or you know someone who is at a point in their life where they've got really low levels of self-worth, a really great place to start to build up that self-worth level is with integrity. Doing what you said you would do. Living by your word. Okay, so if you say you're going to do something, you follow through with it. And you can start with the smallest things. Like you literally, let's say you said you were going to clean up your sock drawer. You clean up your sock drawer. You follow through with your word and you start to build up that self-worth. But yes, the self-worth is building up, but you need to understand what's going on behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, things like your self-trust is increasing, your self-belief is increasing, your self-confidence is increasing. Like just through these little acts of following through with your word and living as an individual with integrity, it is doing wonders for your self-worth. And the opposite is also true, okay? If you're an individual and regardless of where you're at on the sort of self-worth level, if you are breaking your word constantly, you are really doing damage to your self-worth. You might not think it in the moment. You might think you are getting away with it because, no one knows what you're doing or, it's behind the scenes. It's only you who knows. But that's the thing. You know. You can hide everything from the world, but you can't hide it from yourself. You will pay for every action that you take spiritually. Okay, if you say to yourself that you're going to start eating clean, right? Just an example. If you say to yourself, I'm going to start eating healthier. 2026 is my year, it's the year that I start locking in, right, using that terminology. I'm going to start locking in and I'm going to start eating cleaner and healthier and I'm really going to start prioritizing my health. You say that to yourself, you make a promise with yourself, and then you go and buy KFC 30 minutes later. What do you think that does to yourself spiritually? I can tell you right now, it decays your self-trust, it decays your self-belief, it decays your self-confidence even, because all these things are interlinked, right? Whether it be like self-trust, self-belief, self-confidence, self-love, all these things, they're all like elements of self-worth. Okay, if you think of self-worth as like the umbrella and then everything else is underneath that, right? The self-trust, self-belief, self-confidence, all these things. And so you are literally decaying your self-worth every time that you don't do what you said you would do, or you do what you said you wouldn't do. Okay, so back to the topic of the video, where if you're someone who's actually trying to build up their self-worth, start small. Like, I'm not saying you have to go run a fucking ultra marathon, right? That is unrealistic. And if you set goals and expectations that are insanely unrealistic, you're just setting yourself up for failure inevitably, which isn't a bad thing, but in the initial stages when you're rebuilding self-worth, it can very much so discourage you and throw you deeper into the void. So it's very important that you set goals that are realistic, that you can achieve, so you can build upon the achievements that you follow through with, right? And start small. As I said, like literally set a goal. If you're like down in the dumps, if you're like a level 2, right, out of 10, start super small. Literally say to yourself, I'm going to clean up my sock drawer. And then do it, right? Do the 3-minute task, clean up your sock drawer, and then say, okay, that feels good. You start to feel good after doing the thing, because you shouldn't wait until you feel good until you do the thing. You should do the thing and then you feel good as a natural byproduct of that. After you clean the sock drawer, if we're going to run with this example, then you might say, okay, sock drawer's clean, I'm going to make my bed. Haven't made my bed in a while, because I've just been feeling shit. I've been feeling so down in the dumps. I just couldn't be fucked. I'm going to make my bed. Cool. Now you've done the sock drawer and you've made your bed. Now you're feeling a little bit better about yourself, right? You're building momentum. And then you say to yourself, oh shit, I did those 2 things. Maybe I could, I don't know, hang the clothes that are, in the big pile in the corner of your room. Okay, cool. I'm going to hang the clothes. And that's a pretty big thing, right? Especially for someone who's in the lower levels of self-worth at that time. And so they start to do that thing, and it might be a 25-minute ordeal, and then they do it and they're like, holy fuck, like I'm starting to feel good again, right? And that's what I'm saying. When you follow through with your word, no matter how small it is, you will experience the benefits of that. And so if you're someone, or you know someone who is experiencing like lower levels of self-worth right now, a key part to the liberation from that will be living with integrity. Starting small, building up, but staying true to your word. Staying away from the things that you said you would stay away from and aligning yourself with the things that you said you would align yourself with. You know, deep down, we know what we should be doing. We know what we shouldn't be doing. That internal compass, the more we listen to it, the stronger it gets, firstly. But secondly, the more that we actually align ourselves with what we know is right, the more self-worth we're going to have. This is what I say, right? Like, obviously I do coaching and I help people with an array of different things. Mainly I help men and self-sabotage and self-betrayal and get them to a place of self-leadership. But I always say this, like, all the answers are within you, and I'm not this all-knowing, all-seeing fucking guru, right? I've never claimed to know everything or be, like, I'm not, I don't see myself above others or as someone who, like, you know, is in this position of like power. No, it's literally just like, I am just the guide in these people's story. They have the answers within them. They know what they need to do in most cases. It's just a little bit of guidance and a little bit of accountability. Just the right questions and the right accountability and the right structure, and these people find their way and they rebuild themselves completely, and they're like, holy fuck, I haven't known this version of myself for so many years. Okay, so you're watching this video right now, you're listening to this, or however you're consuming this right now. I want you to know that you have all the answers within you. Okay, you have all the answers within you. Would you benefit from getting a coach? Absolutely. Okay, I have coaches and get coaches for anything that I'm like wanting to improve in a fast time frame. All right, like for example, I started working recently with a like company for content. Okay, so I want to increase the quality and quantity of my content. And so I worked with the people who are doing really good in that space. Could I work it out by myself? Yeah, I probably could, but I don't want to have to fumble and fall and fuck up 1,000 times when I can just pay someone and they can teach me what to do. Okay, so back to the topic, right? Like, if you're someone who has low self-worth and you're wondering like, where the fuck do I even start? Because I feel like shit, I don't want to do anything. Everything is hard. And pair this low self-worth with the like shitty lifestyle that's often associated with it. You know, endless scrolling, porn, drinking, drugs, gambling, vaping, smoking, like all these hyper dopaminergically stimulating things. Of course it feels like everything's impossible, but start small, do what you said you're going to do, stay away from the shit you said you're going to stay away from, and I can guarantee you that you can rebuild your self-worth. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is my YouTube name, which is just Ricky Gorsey. And we can have a chat, and maybe we can work together if you feel aligned in doing so. But if not, and you want to take it on by yourself, that's cool as well. But just understand that there is a way to increase your self-worth. There's a lot of ways to increase your self-worth. This is just one little mechanism within a myriad of mechanisms and tools and so many things that you can use. But understand there is a way out, and you can get better, and you don't have to feel like shit for the rest of your life. So many individuals, particularly men, I've noticed, they get in this slump, this super low state of like self-worth, and then they just accept it and they just roll over and they think, oh, well, this is how I am now. It's like, no, the fuck, it doesn't have to be like that, you know? Just because you're feeling like shit now doesn't mean that you have to feel like shit for the rest of your life. Work out why you're feeling like shit, because there were periods in your life where you felt on top of the world, where you would walk into the room and feel like a fucking weapon. You were so full of self-confidence, so full of self-belief, so full of self-love, and your self-worth was through the roof. That is a major thing that I help people get back to. It took me a few years, I won't lie, to actually pinpoint what the transformation was that I particularly helped people with. But the more I go into this work, the more I realize a big part of it is literally reconnecting them to a version of themselves where they feel like them. That's the best way I could put it. You feel like you. You don't feel like a shell of yourself. That is possible. You can reconnect to your former self and genuinely feel like you're on top of the world again. You just need to start living with integrity. Doing what you said you're going to do. Staying away from the stuff you said you would stay away from. A big part of this, guys, as well, is accountability. It's going to be a lot harder than it has to be if you don't have accountability. When I say accountability, I don't just mean self-accountability, because that, in my personal opinion, it's not enough. You need social accountability. Especially if you're a man, you would benefit massively from being in a network of other men who are also striving towards, self-mastery, greatness, leadership, all these sorts of really good things and these really aspirational things to strive for. You will benefit massively from being in a network of men who are doing the same things, who are holding you accountable, and also you're holding them accountable. Not only will you form insanely good connections with these other men, but you will benefit massively from the accountability. It's the whole thing of what gets tracked and measured gets progressed. If there's no way to track the metric of whatever it is you're trying to improve, it's not going to get improved. The natural state of anything isn't progression. Progression is unnatural. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna throw a name out there. I don't exactly know who said it, but I read somewhere that progression is unnatural. It's not the natural state. So in order to get progression in any realm of life, you need to do things that are outside of the ordinary. You need to think outside of the box. Yeah, it might seem a little bit foreign to you to, join a men's self-development community where there's high levels of accountability and everyone's raising the personal standard. But it's well, you can do this stuff by yourself and you don't have to join these communities or work with a coach or do whatever. But it's if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else gets. But if you want extraordinary results and if you want to feel really fucking good every day or most days, and you want to be on top of your game and you want to be smashing life, then you need to do the shit that most people aren't doing, right? That's just the fact of it. So guys, if you are interested in that, what I just mentioned, joining a network of men who are all about accountability, high standards, self-mastery, leadership, business, fitness, all these really good things that I feel like every man should be focused on, reach out to me on Instagram and literally just DM me SMS, right? I have a men's self-development community called the Self-Mastery Society. Within that community, we have things like group calls, a really good chat where we all motivate each other, hold each other to high standards, really good resources, just in general, really good network, but above all else, super high levels of accountability. And with that accountability, we're able to live with deep integrity. And the more integrity you live aligned with, the more integrous you are within your life, the higher your levels of self-worth are. The higher your levels of self-worth are, the higher levels of success you're going to experience. Because you will only achieve the level of success that you believe you're worthy of. If you are at a level 2 in terms of self-worth, your success is going to mirror that. Do you really think, be completely honest with yourself here, do you wholeheartedly believe that if you are at a level, let's say 4 self-worth, that you're going to be able to achieve and maintain a level 10 of success? Fuck no, okay? The external world is a reflection of an internal state. If we feel like shit, we're going to show up like shit, we're going to miss opportunities, we're going to not be the person we need to be to attract and maintain the success that we truly desire. So if you want higher levels of success, if you want a better experience of life, if you want to stop feeling like fucking shit about yourself, you need to put the work in. And a super systemized, and I'm not going to say easy, but it definitely streamlines the entire process. A streamlined way to do this is to join a community, work with coaches, do these things. I'm telling you, it is the best thing you could ever do in your entire life. And you don't have to work with me or any of my communities. Do it with anyone. Do it with whoever you feel aligned with. But if you do feel aligned with me and you do feel that you would gain benefits and, you would just in general level up in being associated with the Self-Mastery Society, then feel free to reach out to me and we can go from there. I am looking forward to hearing from you. I am looking forward to working with you, and I am looking forward to helping you level up and step into that next version of yourself. The version of you which maybe you've already been before in the past, but you're a little bit disconnected from, and you've fallen away from them a little bit, and maybe you're caught up in some bad habits, or you're just not living true to your word exactly to the level that you would like to be. If that's you and you feel called, feel free to reach out. I'm here to help. It's what I'm all about. It's why I do these videos. It's why I base my entire life around coaching. Thank you guys. I hope you got a ton of value from this video. If you did, give it a like, comment what you think, share it with your friends. And if you want to see more stuff like this, feel free to subscribe. Thank you.